Hello there, welcome to another episode of the Allotment Dram. This is a series of short videos where we sit and talk about different whiskies in the surroundings of our North London allotment. Join me here on what's been a slightly milder day actually. We're on like 10 or 11 degrees, which doesn't sound very much, but compared to the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks where we've had like freezing temperatures and then 4 or 5 degrees, it certainly feels like a little bit warmer. I've not got the hat and scarf on today, for example, but I'm sure you didn't tune in to hear about sort of weather activity in North London. I'm sure you tuned in to listen to me talking about whiskey. And what is the Allotment Dram today, I hear you ask? Well, it's one from one of the growing number of award-winning craft distilleries that are popping up around the world and making some very interesting whiskies, and it's the Stauning Rye. So Stauning is from Denmark and was originally founded in 2005. There's 9 friends all got together and decided to found what at the time was Denmark's first purpose-built whiskey distillery. Everyone thought they were mad, of course, as most people think about most pioneers. There are other distilleries that were there before Stauning, but just to clarify, they've started making whiskey since Stauning. So Stauning were the first ones, and it's located in the village of Stauning, which is on Jutland, which is the biggest island, very flat agricultural island. And if you look at the map of Denmark, it's the bit that sort of sticks up into the North Sea, and they're right on the west coast of that. So if you go directly across from there west, you pretty much go across the North Sea and hit Newcastle in the north of England. So that's on the sort of same level as it is. So they founded in 2005. They took over an old butchery, as it turned out, but even within a couple of years they grew. So 2007 they moved to some nearby farm buildings, and then they grew even more to the point where in 2018 they moved into a very new, modern looking distillery that's one of the most eco-friendly and state-of-the-art distilleries in the world. But what do they do that's different to other places at Stauning? Well, they use all local grain, so everything is sourced from within 25 kilometers of the distillery, and that's the barley and the rye, which obviously they've used in here. Everything is floor malted on the site, so there's not many places in the entire world that do that. So everything that they use to make their whiskey is malted at the distillery. So most places, if they do some, then it's a small percentage of what they do. 7 or 8 places in Scotland, for example, they do say 10% of their annual production, but then they buy the rest in. But everything at Stauning is floor malted on site, and they have like really small copper pot stills. So the original stills were small, so when they scaled up, they literally didn't want to change the style of the spirit and the character of the spirit, so they basically replicated this. So now when you walk in, look it up, there's great photos. I've not been to Stauning yet, but I really want to get there as soon as I can because it looks great. The still room, there's basically 24 of these small stills dotted around. You can just walk through the middle of them, and they're direct fired as well, so that's unusual. But what can I tell you about this? This is the rye. So this is not actually 100% rye. So there's a big sort of movement towards rye whiskey at the moment. They're becoming more popular almost than they've ever been, since sort of prohibition times nearly 100 years ago. So there's this rise of rye whiskey, and Scandinavia is behind that. There's particularly Stauning and Cairo pushing that, but other places are doing it as well. And this is not 100% rye, so it's a mix of Danish rye and Danish barley, to say from within 25 kilometers of the distillery is where it's grown, and it's been matured in American oak ex-bourbon casks. It's bottled at a pretty good strength actually, 48%, and it should cost you about 55 to 60 pounds, depends on where you shop. But that's me talking for almost 5 minutes now, so I think it's really time to have a taste of this and see what we've got. So let's have a go. Look at that, lovely golden colour. Really nice golden, slightly coppery gold. And I have to say, actually, the bottle is really nice, like the design. You know, it's got lots of pointers to the history and what they do there. So 9 friends there, and basically this stretches around. There's the butchery, there's curiosity, and then it's all about the new distillery on the back and the floor malting. So, and 24 of them. So yeah, lovely bottle. But anyway, as anyone that has watched these videos before, I digress. You know that I digress. So let's have a smell and a taste. Oh, it's lovely. It's got a lovely sweetness, but there's like a bitter sweetness to it as well. There's like a pepperiness, some chocolate, some caramel. There's a little sort of earthy, I mean, it's maybe because it's, you know, called rye, but it does have a sort of rye bread sort of edge to it, that sort of earthy spiciness. Let's have a taste. Sorry, just enjoying that. That's got such a lovely mouthfeel. It's got a softness, and then it turns into this bite. So this like a peppery, sort of black pepper, cracked black pepper. The sweetness is there. You've got the chocolate, you've got toffee, you've got caramel, you've got vanilla. So maybe the vanilla and the toffee. It's almost like a vanilla fudge, something like that. You've got almost something a bit floral in there. I want to say like eucalyptus, menthol, something like that. But that's sort of, yeah, it's really interesting. Let's have another taste. You're now on second sort of taste. It's much more of this sort of eucalyptus and menthol, and there's quite a lot of the cereal coming through, a bitter sweetness that I said before, but then you've got like sort of oat biscuit or oat cookie, and that rye bread as well, just underlying. But yeah, really interesting. In fact, you've got sweet, you've got spicy, you've got a floral, then you've got this like vegetal menthol eucalyptus. Makes it very, very interesting indeed. Really worth trying, and looking forward to trying. They've got quite a tight core range, because they make different whiskies as well. So they've got the rye here, but they've also got one called smoke. So they smoke using local peat from the Jutland, which is different to, you know, most common type of peat is you think of as the Western Hebrides, like Islay in Scotch whisky. You know, quite medicinal, quite acrid, but you know, the Jutland peat is said to be a bit more like Highland peat in Scotland, where you've got a bit more sort of softness, gentle, sweeter style of smoke to the whole sort of character of that when it's burnt. And they also add heather, like dried heather from the local sort of moorlands around, onto that as well, to add to that sweetness and softness. So you've got the rye, you've got the smoke, and then there's one called Chaos, which is actually a mix of the two, I believe. So you've got some rye, you've got some single malt, and you've got some of the smoke single malt all put together in what's called Chaos, which is spelled K-A-O-S, Chaos. So yeah, I think that's probably about it. I hope you like the sound of the Stauning Rye. Rye is coming, you know, rise of rye is you know, sort of a hot topic at the moment in the whiskey industry. So, you know, if you haven't tried any already, you know, certainly Stauning is one of the sort of best advocates of it, and you know, really, really delicious. You know, very, very nice whiskey. So, without sort of going on too much more, from myself and Stauning Rye, we will bid you farewell. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you again for another Allotment Dram very soon. Cheers.